Amigos, come on in. What's up, bus invaders? Yo, look, we got a jackalope driving a bus. You're on Me Without You's tour bus. Why don't you come on in and take a look around? Step on up. That's Aaron to your left. He's the lead singer of the band. It's a good friend, Mike Omquist, tour manager. You got Jack Kelly, driver.
Assistant to the tour manager.
Assistant to knowledge beyond all depths. He's a wise man right here.
We found the bus online about 6 years ago when our previous bus had rusted out, and so Jack actually went and bought it. You remember that, Jack?
I sure do.
Down in Arkansas, Oklahoma area.
I remember when you push that button, it says, "We just bought a bus."
Yeah, we just bought a bus. We bought it online. We didn't know exactly what we were getting into, but we had a rental van for the first couple dates of a tour while Jack went and bought this. When he drove it back, it filled with these kind of seats, 2 by 2, about somewhere between 45 and 50. It was a passenger bus. It was made to transport a high school football team in Altus,
Bulldogs.
Altus Bulldogs. So it even had their logo on the side. It said Altus Bulldogs very large on the side, both sides of the bus. So we had to take out all these seats. These are the only 2 that we left. The old bus that had rusted out was very similar. It was an MCI 9. It was a 1985 MCI 9. This is an older bus, 1976 MCI 8. So it's an older bus and an older model, but it was in much better condition because there was very little rust in the body. And the engine and transmission ran great. So all the other little problems we've had over the years have been minor, but the main structure and the big expensive parts on the bus have run great, have held up really great. So we took out everything from the old bus that we could salvage, including these cabinets, which we had installed into the old bus. Those cabinets over there. This countertop is new for this bus, but the couches,
all the bed structures,
and all the bunks we had put into our previous bus. So when that broke down, we took all of that out. We rented a moving truck and we filled it up with all the structure and all the wood, and we drove it across the country, and then we installed it into this bus throughout the course of that tour.
Yeah.
We've got a refrigerator over here.
Come on down.
So this is where we keep our leftover food that's not sealable. You know, most of the little containers that, like blunt, deli meat and cheeses and
just your standard fridge,
jelly and things. We've got a cooler here. We call it Fun Cools, where we keep all kinds of drinks and things that can seal. Anything that would spill, you wouldn't want to put in there probably. That's where we keep the stuff that needs to be refrigerated. And then we've got all this cabinet storage space for other food like dried goods, cereals.
We usually keep our games up here. We got to give them Munchkin. Aaron's got some Magic the Gathering cards we're getting into, but he hasn't put them in there yet.
Oh yeah, it's a good spot for
Yeah, this is where we keep all our nerd games. Yeah, you got the cereals. Here, 2 boxes of Cheerios. You always need 2 because 1 is never enough, and neither is open. So
this is where rider food starts to build up.
Yeah.
We get the same food. We get a rider, so like venues often provide like dressing room food for us. But if we get the same thing every day, it doesn't all get eaten. People go out and find other food to buy, so they end up with boxes of Cheerios, some fruit. Lots of fruit gets piled up. Some peanut butter is a standard.
You always need multiple mustards, and it doesn't stop there. We got 5 peanut butters. Yeah.
First world problem.
What do we do with all this free food?
This is all our food storage space. We have storage under here for our cooking ware. We've got a propane stove under here, but don't tell the good people at the Holland Tunnel that.
Yeah.
So we don't have any propane on here. We keep our propane, pots and pans, knives, cutting boards, and spices, all kinds of things for when we do cook, which is actually pretty seldom these days. And then up here is all miscellaneous storage. Cleaning supplies, trash bags, first aid kit,
We got a shoe.
sporting goods.
This is our technical manual. Actually, this is actually the bus. Yeah, this is a MCI. We actually use this sometimes.
Yeah.
If
something goes wrong with the bus, we troubleshoot with that.
Spare light bulbs. We actually use this. Yeah, brake lights and. Remember, it's a 24-volt system. Yeah, don't use 12 volts. They don't last long. We put a 12-volt light bulb.
So it's hard to find electrical parts for the bus because it's unusual voltage. It's 24 volt, whereas most cars and vehicles are going to be 12 volts. So we have to find special parts for this bus, or else they'll just burn out. So Jack's definitely the mechanic in the group. He knows way more than all the rest of us combined about how the bus runs. So whenever we have a question, he's a good guy to have around. He'll also teach us. They won't just do it for us, but try to get us involved so that we know how to do it ourselves as well.
This is actually old 1950 style, but this was built in the 76, but this would be not much different than a bus built in the 50s. It is an automatic. I'm very conscious of what gear to keep in. If I'm going slow speed, I try to drop it in low so it doesn't keep shifting. We have a few complications here as far as any bus. You know, we have an air brake system. You have to air up, make sure you got enough air until your brakes release. What other things?
That was the old fuel gauge for the grease system. It doesn't work anymore. We've got a switch here we install, which is going to
our inverter
either connect or disconnect these deep cycle marine batteries. We got these deep cycle batteries so that we could keep the power on even when we get to a venue and we can't get shore power, or if we shut down at a truck stop and we don't have any access to electricity. Without having these, basically if we wanted to run the lights or run the refrigerator, run our fans, we'd have to draw on the bus batteries, and then you're running a chance it won't start back up, something like that. So we got these so that basically we tried to wire it so the alternator will charge those up while the bus is running, but then when we shut down, we flick that switch and that isolates these batteries. So then we can draw all the internal bus power off of these two batteries and drain those down, and then we can use the fans and the lights for a while without even touching the bus starter battery. That's the idea. I'm still not 100% sure we wired it correctly, but that was the intention.
I'm gonna go ahead and start the bus. And that's our low air pressure alarm going off, which you hear right now.
See that buzz? That's going to keep going until we get the 90 what's that, PSI, pounds per square inch? Yeah. So it usually, it hovers between 90 and 120 when we start it. Depending on how long it's sat, it's usually dropped down to about 50, 60 PSI.
And that's where, opposed to driving a regular car, you have to understand the air brake system. That the brakes engage when there's no air. When there's no air, the brakes are locked in. So you need air for the brakes to release.
So it'd be impossible to drive. It's impossible if this thing's been sitting for a few hours, just come out, start it up and drive. Because those brakes are clamped down onto the wheels, so you have to let it run usually for a few minutes.
Or if you're stuck in traffic and you're hitting your brake and releasing, hitting your brake, you're discharging air to the point where you lose air pressure. Yeah,
you're stuck.
Yeah, you're stuck. So not to sit there and pump your brake, and you conserve your air.
So we all take turns driving. We used to do 200-mile shifts, and we'd have a rotation where everybody knows exactly who they're going to drive after and who they're driving before. So we'd wake up the next guy, sometimes in the middle of the night. Recently, when Jack's been coming out, he's been doing the bulk of the driving. He'll wake up early, about 5 a.m. every day.
Sometimes 3, 4.
So yeah, even earlier. So somebody, one of the guys will drive. Still we do 200-mile shift within the band, but then Jack.
I drive every day.
He drives every day.
I drive every day. So, like today was 6 or 7 hours, but I enjoy the hell out of driving. It's serving a purpose. It just, I have trying to do a culture where I drive for comfort, opposed to of course safety. But if you're driving for comfort, you've got safety covered because you're taking all your corners slowly. You're applying your brakes gently. You're accelerating gently.
Because it's a living space, so you have everyone just kind of hanging out, or whether they're laying down or just sitting around talking. If you're slamming on the accelerator or slamming on the brake, it get real jerky. So everybody, you end up feeling it by the end of a ride. You get car sick. If someone's
you
not
don't sleep
conscious
well.
of it.
Yeah, you're conscious. You're automatically conscious, especially when the engine quits running. When something goes wrong, especially when we used to burn vegetable oil a lot and the engine would quit running, it's like, oh no, not again. Yeah, and you just always dread, when you're laying there half asleep waiting for that engine to quit.
But it's really not much different than driving any other automobile once you're out on the highway. I mean, where you mainly feel the difference is when you're accelerating and decelerating and then coming around corners. So it takes a lot longer to speed up. You're going an uphill especially. It's got a very, very slow climb.
And I always like to use the analogy. It's like walking around through your house dragging a 2x4, a 12-foot long 2x4 around your house. You've got to take how are you going to get around all these curves with this long piece of wood behind you?
Well, you want to go back here.
Sleeping chambers.
The sleeping chambers.
Make sure you say goodnight to Donna. Rest in peace, my girl. Come on back.
Woo!
Show me your bunk. He kind of has the nicest bunk because he has this great cabinet.
Yeah, I did not install this wonderful cabinet. Our old guitarist did, Chris Kleinberg, and he left it there and I took his bunk. But now, I got this. I got a secret stash of
Yeah, we got some wine
bottles of
back there.
wine back here.
And every bunk was built with one of these lights and an outlet. The idea in mind was that some of the guys were married and we could have probably stacked them 3 high, but we wanted to give enough room for the married couple because that was a big thing behind the band, like being able to bring out loved ones rather than leaving them behind. Kind of kept some relationships alive, I think. I don't think it would have been possible in a van to do this because people got married early. So these were built with that in mind. You can sit up, you can read, 2 people can fit comfortably. It probably doesn't look like it, but that's how it is. This
Also,
is
Kevin Bacon from Hollow Man.
Hollow Man
over
made an
here.
appearance
Yeah.
here. So you got Hollow Man. We just leave him alone. He chills out. And then same thing. There's some bunk designs here. Yeah. I'll turn on Greg's light too. But yeah, everybody kind of does it differently, you know. He's got the plastic tubs, keeps some food, some toiletries. He's very organized. Me, I just keep a rucksack. You know, I got my animal mask. It's all pretty chill. So yeah, it's been cold. This thing's like a frozen bullet traveling down the highway sometimes. So everybody has these crazy huge blankets, and I got used to sleeping under my blanket. Usually I don't do that, but this trip I have been because it's so cold. And then if you want to catch asbestos, you look up here, you might want to catch some weird freaky disease. That's where you're going to get it.
So all this space back here holds about, well, it's about 8 people. Right now we're fitting 9, sharing some space, sharing some bunks. I mean with girlfriends. But it gets pretty, right now in the wintertime, it gets pretty cold, but we can get warm. In the summertime, however, a different story. There's no air conditioning on this bus. So we open all the windows, we open this back hatch up here, get some airflow going through.
Wind flow.
Yeah, but even that, still not enough. And that's when we retreat back to the front lounge.
Yeah.
Where it's a lottery essentially, where all these windows are open. Hopefully we're traveling about 50, 60 miles on the road, and you can just lay out here,
Yeah.
bring your pillow.
It's first come, first serve.
Come, first
Whoever
serve.
happens to be out here,
Yeah.
they get the...
But those hot
Nice spot.
Texas nights.
Right now, what you see back here are some boxes, and because this is like a 15-day tour, we don't have that much, but usually this whole area is wall-to-wall merch. We usually keep the LPs over here because it's a nice spot, but usually the only person that comes back here is our merch guy, and it would be nice to have a back lounge, a reading lounge, but
Yeah.
we never got a trailer for
Never.
this
Yeah.
thing.
We don't want to haul a trailer, so
Yeah.
this is our trailer space, and all the gear is also
Under the bus,
under
which
the bus,
we'll take a look
which
at
we'll
in a
show you
couple
later.
minutes, yeah.
But right back here, we just boxes of t-shirts.
Boxes of t-shirts. This is where we stack it
What do you
all.
want? $20.
Yeah.
No
Look at
problem.
that.
That's beautiful.
So, and then we have a washroom over here that is more or less a makeshift bathroom. There's a toilet in there. I don't want to disgust my mother, so we
You don't
probably
want to see.
shouldn't
You
go
don't
in
want to
there.
see what goes on in there.
But yeah, it is a washroom, and it's more for the ladies, because guys, we have what we call pee buddies. I'm not going to explain what a pee buddy is, but a Gatorade bottle works perfect for that. So yeah, and if there's a lot that goes on in that bathroom.
Also, old show, like when you get sweaty, gross
Clothes, you just toss
clothes,
them back
they
here.
get tossed back here.
And they dry eventually, especially in the summer because the wind flow coming from the hatch.
It makes difficult for the merch guy when he's got to deal with that like, stinky underwear all over the stuff.
Yeah, again, if you want to catch asbestos,
Or asbestos,
come
that's your
breathe this in.
opportunity.
So yeah, we should show them the gear and the,
Oh,
the
absolutely.
engine
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
that good stuff.
So also, when we run out of space in the back for merch, we also, this was designed by the guys in the band, extra storage space. We got other t-shirts, we got LPs, we got flats, but each one of these things does that, like this, So more shirts. This isn't quite as packed. The other side over here, Jack, you want to get up, is where we store non-merchandise. Spare parts, drills,
One drill.
fan belts, stuff like that. It's a kind of a mess. We try to keep it organized, but there's a lot of tools because this bus requires a lot of work. I guess let's go out and look at where we store all our gear.
So we keep all of our equipment under here. This one is generally designated for merchandise. It's empty right now. It's all been loaded into the show. But you can see we've got our spare fuel tank, some extra motor oil, antifreeze, some other tools, and spray paint. I'll also, although he brought us out to look at the luggage or cargo containers, cargo bays, I would also point out the paint job. A couple years ago I mentioned we had a different paint job on there when we got the bus, but then we decided to sand all that off and paint it with this almond base coat, and then our friend Salihah Moore, who's an artist who lives in California, did the floral design for the most part. And so as you can see, it's gotten really dirty. We're touring in the wintertime, as you can probably tell by our outfits. So it kicks up a lot of the salt from when they're de-icing the roads. So it gets all over the bus. So right now it's actually pretty filthy, and we're gonna, once we get into some warmer climate, we're gonna wash all this off so it doesn't begin to rust. That's the reason our last bus rusted out, because it was run up north where they salt the roads a lot, and that can corrode the metal on the bus. So we're gonna give this a good washing once we get down south, probably in a day or two. But for now, as you can see, it's a big mess. Also, we tried spray painting the windows. Behind these are the bunk beds, so you don't want to see, it's like the back of the plywood, or you see electrical wiring. We tried to paint over for aesthetic reasons, but I can't figure out how to get this spray paint to stick to the glass. Everything else, it sticks pretty good, but it always chips off the glass. So every winter, we have to every year we have to repaint it after the season, after all the seasons.
I show what some of the other, it was just it looks like in some of these other bays.
Oh, Rick, what are you doing?
How long was I down there for? This is where we keep gear.
All the gear goes in
my
here.
my drum bay in particular. If you can see, it goes straight through to the other side, and there's a couple of these that house all our gear, so it's very convenient in that sense.
Oh yeah.
There's no trailer for us.
And then the last bay over here is a pretty interesting one. You guys, I'll lift it up.
This is the auxiliary fuel tank. So it's a backup fuel tank. This is a 140-gallon tank up front that takes diesel. This is a backup fuel tank. It's also 140 gallons, and we could put any kind of fuel in it that we'd like. We usually run vegetable oil in here, so we'd run it on.
Sometimes, we always run vegetable oil in here.
We used to run, yeah.
We used to run vegetable oil.
Used to run vegetable oil. So
More often, yeah.
So this was a. So it's a split tank. So it has a storage tank and an active tank. There's a filtration system on there. You can see there's some valves that can allow us to choose which tanks are active, which ones are being held in reserve, and there's a fuel pump in there, so we can use to transfer fuel from one container into this. Then it goes into some heated fuel lines to the back of the bus, which I'm not sure how well you can see in there, but there's an extra fuel filter in there. So it's like a water separator. It gets out particulate and water, and so we can drain out all the unwanted water and change that filter actually pretty often. When we used to run grease, it was pretty dirty, so we had to swap it out every 500 miles or so. There's a few other fuel filters on there that you can't see from here. Are we going to access the engine?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Let me show you something that's interesting though. These are blocks of wood. See how close that door is to the sidewalk? Sometimes it gets so close that we have to drive up on these blocks of wood to lift the bus high enough so the door doesn't hit the sidewalk there. This is where the magic really happens, right back here.
Yeah. Get in there.
The Detroit diesel. Is he gonna fire it up?
Yeah, it's an 8V71 Detroit diesel, so it has eight cylinders, something.
Well, you got big 2 squirrel cage cooling fans. You got 2 radiators on each side. During the summer we do overheat. When we start running 65 miles an hour, we had to slow down to 45. The engine itself is a pretty bulletproof engine, being built in 1976. Almost everything's mechanical. There's no computer on board. It makes it very dependable that way. Some of the new buses, you know, we wouldn't be able to work on it. We would need an electronic technician on board. It holds a lot of fluids. We were talking about today, I think it's like 8 gallons of oil. Yeah,
12 gallons of fuel at least. 12 gallons of fuel, at least 12 gallons of fuel. The air compressor, is this the air conditioning unit?
Yeah. There's an air conditioning unit that we don't use here. Come over here like that. We're carrying a lot of weight. We tried charging it before, but it leaks out its freon so fast it's not even worth to keep it running. So we're gonna just dismantle that whole air conditioning system.
You can see some of the air filters, some of the fuel filters down here. See that red cylinder? That's the secondary fuel filter. I'm sorry, that's the primary fuel filter. Just behind that is the secondary fuel filter. Our grease would go through that. So we end up having to change that very often, about every 1,000 miles. Primary fuel filter, we only have to change about every 10,000 miles. If you look over there, you probably can't see it. It's a much bigger cylinder, about this big in diameter, about 2 or 3 feet tall. That's the casing for the air filter. You can shut the engine off. So you can see that little piston shoots out in order to press against this and shuts the engine off. For a while that didn't work. Actually, for a couple of years that
We had
didn't
to come
work.
out here and shut off
So the only way to shut off, you could turn off the master switch, the kill switch inside the bus, and it wouldn't turn off the engine. So we had to come outside and literally, and with your thumb, you know, just move.
There's a control panel right here that originally when everything worked, you could be able to start and stop the engine right here. But a lot of this stuff doesn't work anymore.
So this is where you add the motor oil, you add the where's the transmission fluid? Down there?
Yeah, around the other side, yeah.
And power steering fluid is right here, is that right?
Yeah, right there. Then the engine oil is right there.
Yeah, this is where the dipstick where you check the oil. And yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but the air filter, this whole manifold is coming out of the air filter. That casing right there is where we only change the air filter once every other tour. So.
Huge.
Yeah, it's a big kind of a cardboard cylinder.
Thanks for checking out our bus.
Yeah.
We've been Me Without You and friends.
Friends, actually,
And family.
I'm a father-in-law. My daughter married Me Without You. Yeah.
So yeah.
We hope. Yeah, thank you for paying attention, and we hope to see you sometime.
Now get off this bus.
Get out of here, you dirty rascal. Get out of here.